US President Donald Trump has in fact announced a temporary pause, the second one in a row in his strikes on Iran's energy infrastructure, raising hopes of a potential diplomatic opening even as tensions remain high. In a post on Truth Social, Trump said the United States would halt attacks on Iranian energy plants for another 10 days until April 6th, following a request, he claims, from Tehran. He claimed the talks between the two sides are ongoing and going very well, while dismissing media reports as misleading. Remember, just days earlier, Trump had warned Iran of severe consequences if the Strait of Hormuz was not reopened, threatening to obliterate key power infrastructure. However, he later delayed strikes following what he described as productive discussions. Remember, the first 5-day pause that was announced by the US president was to end on Friday, the 27th of March. Now, the second pause of 10 days comes into effect, with potentially the pause ending on April 6th. And US President Donald Trump held a cabinet meeting on Thursday where he discussed the war on Iran with senior officials. Trump made a series of strong statements during the cabinet meeting at the White House, claiming major military success against Iran. During the meeting, Trump reiterated that Iran should accept a deal to end the conflict, warning that the United States would continue strikes if negotiations fail. Listen to the US president.
Just so we set the record straight, because I've been watching the Wall Street Journal's fake news and all these stories that get printed like, oh, I want to make a deal. They are begging to make a deal, not me. They're begging to make a deal. And anybody that saw what was happening over there would understand why they want to make a deal. But they say, oh, we're not talking to them. Anybody would know that. And only a total fool. And they're not fools. They're very smart, actually, in a certain way. And they're great negotiators. I say they're lousy fighters, but they're great negotiators. They are begging to work out a deal. I don't know if we'll be able to do that. I don't know if we're willing to do that. They should have done that 4 weeks ago. They should have done it 2 years ago. That's why they're talking to us. They wouldn't talk otherwise. But they're talking to us because they've got a disaster in their hands. They're defeated. They can't make a comeback. We're free to roam over their cities and towns and destroy all of their crazy nuclear weapons and missiles and drones that they're building. And we're doing that. They now have a chance to make a deal, but that's up to them. And they'll tell you, we're not negotiating. We will not negotiate. Of course they're negotiating. They've been obliterated. Who wouldn't negotiate? They are begging to make a deal. We'll see if we can make the right deal. And if they make the right deal, then the strait will open up. Hormuz Strait will open up.
And your special envoy Steve Witkoff said that the United States has sent a 15-point action list as the basis for negotiations to end the current conflict. And there are signs that Tehran was interested in making a deal. Now, speaking during a cabinet meeting at the White House, Witkoff said that the talks could be successful if the Iranians realized there were no good alternatives available to them. Witkoff further said that Pakistan had been acting as a mediator, confirming statements from Pakistani officials.
Throughout our meetings with the Iranians, we heard the following from them. The Iranians have the inalienable right to enrich. Then we heard they possessed enough 60% enriched material, 460 kilograms, to make 11 atomic bombs. Iran is looking for an off-ramp following your powerful threat on Saturday. Your indications that you are willing to listen to peace proposals have been well received. You've instructed us that your preference is always peace, and that we should make that our priority. We have delivered that message, sir, along with the 15 points for peace. Finally, we have told Iran one last thing. Don't miscalculate again.
Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth struck a confident tone on operations against Iran, saying President Donald Trump understands what success looks like on the ground. He pointed to 10 Warthogs and Apache helicopters flying strike missions freely over Iranian airspace and the Strait of Hormuz, claiming it signals that Iran's air defenses and command structure have been weakened, with leadership under pressure and fighter morale declining.
Close the U.S. President Trump knows better. And here's what success actually looks like right now. You mentioned it, Mr. President. A-10 Warthogs, if you know them, you love them, and Apache helicopter gunships are flying strike missions inside Iranian airspace and throughout the Strait of Hormuz at will. See, you only send these slow, low-flying, close air support platforms when the enemy has no meaningful air defenses left. Their presence is proof that Iran's air defenses are gone. Their command and control is shattered, their top leaders hiding in underground bunkers, while their mid-level commanders are being crushed in the field. The morale of their fighters plummeting, and we see that disconnect daily.
And after the meeting, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said it was in the interest of U.S. allies to take a greater role in safeguarding shipping through the Strait of Hormuz, a vital energy corridor for global markets. He noted that other countries depend far more heavily than the United States on oil and gas transiting the waterway and said they should step up and deal with it, adding that any operational details would be left to the Pentagon.
Are you going to ask G7 to help with the Strait of Hormuz?
Well, it's in their interest to help. The other countries get far more of their fuel from there than we do. So.
But what kind of help are you going to ask? Is it wine sweepers, naval help?
Well, those specifics, I'll leave it to the Department of War as to exactly what, but it's in their interest. It's in their national interest. Well, it's not help for us. Like I said, very little of our energy comes through the Straits of Hormuz. It's the world that has a great interest in that. And so they should step up and deal with it. It can be open tomorrow if Iran stops threatening global shipping, which is an outrage and a violation of international law for all these countries that care about international law. They should be doing something about it.
And U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said crude oil markets remain well supplied despite the ongoing U.S.-Israeli conflict with Iran, adding that the U.S. economy continues to stay strong.
The oil market is well supplied. We have taken actions to ensure oil supplies stranded at sea are made available to the global market. Your bold actions like the Development Finance Corporation's Maritime Reinsurance Program in conjunction with Central Command will soon provide shippers through the Gulf region with a level of security we have never seen before. Mr. President, we are starting to see more and more movement in and out of the Gulf today, and this is more than yesterday, and this is the beginning. I am confident that shipping traffic will continue to increase on a daily basis even before we secure the straits. Turning to the home front, the U.S. economy remains strong. We had a strong economy thanks to you. We are the best insulated in the world thanks to your energy efforts in term 1 and term 2. The U.S. is an energy superpower. American workers' purchasing power is finally being restored. The latest figures indicate robust real compensation increases. We are starting to see the working family tax cuts benefits bearing fruit this tax season.
However, the claim by U.S. President Donald Trump that Iran is begging to make a deal has been strongly pushed back by Tehran. A senior Iranian official has said that Tehran has reviewed a proposal from the United States conveyed through Pakistan but rejected it as one-sided and unfair, alleging it largely serves the interests of Washington and its allies. The official said Iran's response, also sent via Pakistan, made it clear the proposal does not meet the minimum requirements for a viable agreement. Efforts to bridge the gap are now underway, with Turkey and Pakistan actively working to mediate between Tehran and Washington. However, there's currently no formal framework for negotiations, and the chances of immediate talks remain slim. Despite the statement, Iran insists diplomatic channels remain open, adding that if realism prevails in Washington, a path forward could still emerge. Meanwhile, Donald Trump also claimed that the mystery present from Iran that he was speaking about earlier this week was 10 boats of oil. Trump claims that Iran let the boats successfully cross the Strait of Hormuz as a goodwill gesture in negotiations, including some Pakistan-flagged vessels. Trump said that the 2 additional boats sent by Iran were to apologize for something they said. Listen in to the U.S. president.
They said to show you the fact that we're real and solid, and we're there. We're going to let you have 8 boats of oil, 8 boats, 8 big boats of oil. This was 2 days ago. And they'll sail up tomorrow. That was 3 days ago. And I didn't think much about it. And then I watched the news, and they said, a very good anchor, actually, happened to be Fox. But I watched it, and he said, something's unusual happening. There are 8 boats that are going right up the middle of the Hormuz Strait. 8 big tankers are going loaded up with oil right through. And I said, well, I guess they were right, and they were real. And I think they were Pakistani flagged. Yes. And I said, well, I guess we're dealing with the right people. And actually, they then apologized for something they said, and they said, we're going to send 2 more boats. And it ended up being 10 boats. All right? I hope I haven't screwed up your negotiations, but I thought it was appropriate to say, because I did taunt you the other day by saying they're going to give us a present.
President Trump has also sharply criticized the NATO yet again, saying the alliance failed to provide meaningful support during the recent conflict with Iran. Speaking at the White House meeting, Trump described NATO once again as a paper tiger, arguing that while the United States consistently defends its allies, that commitment is not reciprocated.
I think we're very disappointed. I'll say it publicly. We're very disappointed with NATO because NATO has done absolutely nothing. And I've always said, 25 years ago, I mean, I was somebody that wasn't a politician, but I was always involved in politics and I understood politics. I said 25 years ago that NATO's a paper tiger, but more importantly, that we'll come to their rescue, but they will never come to ours. And I want you to remember that we said this. They didn't come to our rescue.